Have you ever looked into your husband's eyes during an argument and felt like you were looking into a mirror that showed you parts of yourself you didn't want to see? Have you ever wondered why this one man can make you feel more loved and more triggered than anyone else in your entire life? If this question just hit you like a lightning bolt of recognition, you're exactly where you need to be. Because what I'm about to share will reveal a shocking truth that Paramhansa Yogananda taught about marriage that most couples never discover. You see, most women in the world believe that finding a husband is about compatibility, attraction, or even destiny. But the great spiritual master Paramhansa Yogananda revealed something that changes everything about how we understand the sacred union of marriage. He lovingly taught us, your husband is not in your life by accident. He is the divine reflection that your soul chose to show you everything you need to heal, everything you need to celebrate, and everything you need to become to reach divine love. If you've ever felt that your marriage goes deeper than what meets the eye, that there's something ancient and karmic about your connection, then you already sense this profound truth. Your husband is not just the man you married. He's a soul who has agreed to enter into sacred partnership with you, creating what Yogananda called a holy laboratory where two souls practice unconditional love. And I promise you, by the end of this sacred journey together, you'll never see your marriage the same way again. In the next few minutes, I'll walk you through Yogananda's most profound teachings on why your husband is actually your spiritual reflection and how understanding this transforms marriage from struggle into sacred communion. But first, let me ask you something that might feel deeply familiar. Have you noticed how your husband seems to reflect back your own energy? When you're loving, he responds with love. When you're closed off, he becomes distant. If you're recognizing this divine reflection right now, you're already experiencing what Yogananda called the sacred mirroring of souls, where married couples become perfect reflections of each other's spiritual state. Yogananda explained it beautifully when he gently said, "Marriage is not the union of two incomplete halves seeking completion. It is the sacred communion of two whole souls who have chosen to reflect each other's journey back to divine consciousness through the intimacy of daily life." Now, you might be wondering how this actually works in the intimate reality of your marriage. And here's where it gets truly transformative. According to Yogananda's deepest teachings, before you met your husband in this lifetime, your souls made what he called a covenant of divine reflection. He agreed to be the perfect mirror for your spiritual growth, and you agreed to be his. Together, you create what Yogananda called a sacred partnership, where every moment of intimacy, every challenge, and every joy becomes a doorway to divine love. Think about your own marriage for a moment. Can you remember a time when your husband's behavior triggered something in you, but later you realized it revealed something important about your own patterns? Take a moment to really feel into that memory, because what you experienced was your soul recognizing the divine reflection it had chosen to learn through intimate partnership. This recognition you just felt. It's what Yogananda called the awakening of sacred partnership consciousness. Your soul understands that every trigger, every moment of deep connection, and every challenge in your marriage is perfectly designed to help both of you evolve through the vulnerability of true intimacy. And here's what changes everything. The qualities that most challenge you in your husband are often perfect reflections of your own unhealed aspects. Now, I want you to be completely honest with yourself for a moment. When you look at your husband, especially during intimate or challenging moments, do you see just a man who needs to change? Or can you sense that he might be reflecting back to you exactly what you need to see about yourself? Your answer will reveal how ready you are to embrace the deeper spiritual purpose of sacred marriage. If you sense that divine reflection, then you're ready for what comes next. Because now I'm going to share exactly how Yogananda taught couples to work with the sacred reflection of marriage, transforming conflict into communion and challenges into spiritual intimacy. The first technique he shared was what he called sacred partnership recognition. Let's practice this together right now. I want you to close your eyes for just a moment and think of something about your husband that sometimes challenges you. Now, instead of seeing it as his problem, try to see it as Yogananda taught, a divine reflection showing you an aspect of yourself that needs love and healing through the safety of intimate partnership. Silently ask, how is my beloved reflecting my own soul's journey back to me? Did you feel that shift from resistance to curiosity? That's divine wisdom awakening through love. If you felt even a small shift just now, imagine what happens when you practice this daily. But there's another practice that Yogananda said was even more powerful. He called it the sacred communion response. When we begin to see our husband as a divine reflection and respond to his reflections with love instead of defensiveness, everything transforms into sacred intimacy. Here's how Yogananda taught this sacred practice. The next time your husband reflects something challenging back to you, take 3 deep breaths and silently say, Divine love, help me see how my beloved is reflecting what I need to heal. Help me respond with the love and wisdom that will deepen our sacred communion. He promised that this practice would transform your marriage from emotional reactivity into spiritual intimacy. Let me share a story that beautifully illustrates this divine truth. As I tell you this, I want you to ask yourself, how does my husband's behavior reflect my own relationship with myself? There was a devoted woman who came to Yogananda in tears, saying, Master, my husband withdraws emotionally whenever I try to get close to him. The more I reach for him, the more distant he becomes. I feel so rejected and unloved. Why did I marry someone who can't give me the intimacy I crave? Yogananda looked at her with infinite compassion and said something that changed her entire understanding of marriage. My child, your husband's withdrawal is not rejection. It is a perfect reflection of your own relationship with vulnerability. In past lives, you were a soul who protected yourself by withdrawing when love felt too intense. Your husband is reflecting back this same pattern so you can feel what it's like to experience emotional distance and learn to create safety for intimacy instead of demanding it. He then taught her a transformative practice. Every morning, practice being vulnerable with yourself. Share your true feelings with your own heart first. Every evening, appreciate one way your husband's behavior helped you understand your own patterns with intimacy. And whenever he withdraws, instead of pursuing him, create a loving space and invite connection without demanding it. Within months, something miraculous happened. As she learned to be intimate with herself first, her husband naturally began to feel safer being vulnerable with her. She realized that his withdrawal had been reflecting her own fear of true intimacy. And as she healed that fear within herself, their marriage transformed into the deep communion she had always craved. Most beautifully, she discovered, Master, my husband has been teaching me how to love myself with the patience and acceptance I was demanding from him. When I share this story with wives, they often say with tears of recognition, that's exactly the pattern in my marriage. And it probably is, because this same divine reflection is happening in countless marriages. The sacred mirroring that helps both souls heal through the vulnerability of intimate partnership. Now here's what Yogananda wanted every wife to understand at the deepest level. He taught that marriage is actually a reflection of our relationship with the divine, how we love, how we surrender, how we grow together in sacred communion. As he beautifully said, when you learn to see your husband as a sacred reflection of divine love, you begin to understand that marriage is not about finding the perfect partner, but about becoming perfect love through the intimacy of spiritual partnership. D, if you're truly ready to step into this sacred understanding, then make this divine commitment right now. I will see my husband as my sacred reflection, showing me what I need to heal and what I need to celebrate in myself. I will respond to his reflections with love, not reactivity, knowing that through healing what I see in this sacred mirror, I am deepening our spiritual communion and my own journey back to divine love. Say it with your whole heart. Divine love is listening through your sacred partnership. As Paramhansa Yogananda beautifully reminded us, the greatest spiritual practice is not meditation in solitude, but learning to love unconditionally through the sacred reflection of marriage. When you can see the divine reflecting through your husband's soul, you have discovered the secret of spiritual communion itself. Before we part ways, I want to leave you with something sacred you can do right now. Take out your phone and write yourself one word that represents your new understanding of your husband as your sacred reflection. Put it where you'll see it tomorrow when you interact with him. This simple act will anchor Yogananda's wisdom in your daily marriage and begin transforming every interaction into an opportunity for spiritual communion. If this message awakened something sacred in your heart about your marriage, I'd be deeply honored if you shared it with another wife who needs this divine reminder today. Sometimes we become the vessel through which divine love reaches another soul who is struggling with the sacred reflection of marriage. I'd love to know, what was that one sacred word you wrote down about your husband as your divine reflection? Share it in the comments below. Your word might be exactly what another wife needs to begin seeing the sacred communion possible in her own marriage. Until our souls meet again in divine love, may you see the sacred teacher in the man who chose to be your reflection. Remember, dear soul, your husband is your reflection, but he is also your path to divine love. Honor the sacred partnership between your souls, and watch as love transforms both of your journeys towards spiritual communion. Through seeing your husband as your sacred reflection, you learn to see the divine reflecting in all relationships. This is Yogananda's greatest gift to every marriage, the recognition that in loving through the intimacy of spiritual partnership, we discover our own divine nature.